Our journey with Nuance started long back, and it was very interesting for us to kind of associate with that company where they are exploring textures and concrete in a lot of non-traditional ways, and that had always been very interesting for us. So when me and Ajay kind of got down and we were just thinking about some ideas aloud and our journeys and our experiences, suddenly this whole wood texture and capturing it came into the picture, and everything sort of fell into the right place. His company as an organization is an expert in fixing textures and working with textures and also converting them into concrete. And us as a company who pioneers in wood, we were always intrigued by this whole natural texture that comes in. And it was for us an effort to marry both of these, kind of take this very tangible product that has a life that would be susceptible to decay, and then eventually freeze its story, freeze its experience in concrete, which can live on forever beyond this. It is almost a callback to the past where the first kind of formworks were actually wooden, and they were not really, they were something that was done out of a necessity. But what happens is that the wood finally left its imprint on the concrete. And that little joint between the wood and the concrete is what caught our attention. That little texture, that little imprint, almost like a fossil, the thing that was left behind. And that is something that we really wanted to explore as an organization and see how far we can take it and how beautifully we can achieve a lot of untold stories. Like wood is beyond its color, wood is beyond its texture. Wood is a living element, and the prints are natural. You cannot fake it. You cannot for it. You cannot copy it. You cannot recreate it. And when you leave it on a concrete material, you are leaving it forever. The wood decays, the story goes on, but the concrete stays. So, as a organization, we always believe in wood being a very continuous. It's a very continuous material. It grows as a tree, and then it lives its life out in the forest, and then it's converted into timber for houses and products. And the tree lives on, the soul kind of lives on. And this is very evident when we work with materials that come from these old ancient houses. When we see them, we kind of see the textures that go on them. We kind of see the way people have used it for ages. And that tells you a story. It's just not the story of the wood and the color, but also the kind of views it goes through. And for us as an organization, that was always a very pivotal interest, because we could always see these textures and there's aberrations and there's all this weathering that had happened on it naturally, and it's almost so natural that you cannot mimic it. You cannot just use artificial processes and you need to get there. It always has to happen, a large part of it has to happen naturally, and that is what really caught our attention, and that became a very important point for us, from which we started exploring textures.
Like for us, the idea was to curate all these things that wood kind of experiences, and kind of express it in our way and kind of capture it again in the processes that and wood evolves with, to in kind of freezes it in a concrete panel.
Exactly.
And there lies a beauty in it. Whatever wood goes through the hair-like strand when it ages, each species ages differently. Each species will have a very different way of imprinting the blows or the cut marks that happens on the wood. Each species kind of imbibes in a very different way, and the imprints that you get is unique and one of a kind.
And for us, it was very interesting that when we are processing the wood, a lot of these things on a day-to-day basis go unnoticed.
Very
like
much.
A person will cut the wood, but he'll never look back and think, how has the wood taken that cut? What imprint did he leave on the wood? I think for us, the entire conversation was, how do you document the different processes and how do you document the different ways of working on it, and then use that to freeze it in concrete forever.
Yeah.
And although these things are done in mistake, a lot of these things,
not all mistakes are mistakes, and
exactly, and a lot of these details were curated. We actually curated each and every detail, each and every aspect, and we worked towards enhancing it. Like the time we had to take a hammer and
we kind of made all
enhance
those,
some of the holes, some of the dents,
those nail holes and all of
exactly,
that.
exactly. And I think by the end, what we got is the concrete is nothing less than the piece of wood itself. Like you can
Absolutely.
actually, and philosophically that's beautiful, because wood also you can cut, you can get different angles, and you can play with it in any way you want. I think concrete also stands
Does
the
the
same
same
way.
way,
You can
yeah.
also cut the concrete, you can do a
It
herringbone. you
shapes
can-
up.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So we basically deconstructed wood, and then we reconstructed it into another material. And I think in the end, the biggest thing that we were trying to prove a point is that
Each piece is going to be unique,
Exactly.
and each piece will have its own story to tell.
exactly, and it's so much beyond its color. Like a light wood, a dark wood, none of these things matter. It's just about wood, its experiences, our imprints on it, and how we can convert that into a very interesting and a unique product, because every piece that you create is unique, and that is the most interesting bit, I think.